Okay, thank you very much, Claudia, for this nice talk. I think that there has been a question in the Q&A.
Yeah. It was somewhat at the end of your talk, so you have addressed part of it, Claudia, already. But the question was that if you unload this enormous amount of data, the question was on reliability and quality. So the question is, do you somehow filter on the quality of the data? And how do you avoid these kind of issues?
Oh, sorry, no, I'm unmuted. So sorry. In the Nomad repository, we request that people upload input and output files. In that sense, we know what the quality of a calculation is. Because if you know what, for instance, I don't know, the k-measure of a calculation or the number of basis function is, you can somehow assess whether a calculation is useful for one purpose or the other. So calculations are always performed with a different purpose in mind. And so what is enough for, let's say, calculating one property may not be enough for the other. So in that sense, I think having the input files, all the calculations are valid. But of course, if you want to further use the data, you need to decide which of the data you may include in your data analytics and whatnot. But you have the control through the input files, you have the full control. Also, we request, of course, the code and the code version, so we know exactly what the calculation is about, right?
So people can also raise your hand, right, if you have a question.
I think there was another question on the amount of data before, right? I've seen.
Well, the amount of data was really about how do you make sure that also the quality, how do you distinguish between the pearl that you want, that you're looking for, and just bad data that is an outlier.
But in fact, I think there's a poster about the somehow error estimations of data. So what we want to do there is to find out or to learn, basically, given you have a calculation, what the converged value of total energy and other properties would be. So we're working on this. This is a very relevant scientific questions, but so far we control let's say, the quality of data by requesting the input files.
Yeah. There is another question that comes in from Golapali Prince, and he mentions that the Materials project database looks similar to NOBAT, but it's based on the VASP code. So the question is it possible by any chance to merge these two databases?
Actually, I think all the databases and the data projects, they had different purpose in mind when they were created. So I think the Materials project started out to create high throughput data for a given application, like battery materials and so on. And of course, all these calculations then were performed with a specific code and with a specific methodology. We have approached the problem from a completely different angle, saying, okay, let's collect data from people from all over the world with all kinds of methodology, all kinds of methods, and you can explore other things than with high throughput calculations for a dedicated data set. And in fact, it's talking about merging. I think there's no need for merging, but NOMAD hosts all the Materials project data. So you can, NOMAD has calculations from other databases like AFlow and QMD, from many individual calculations that people have contributed, but also the Materials project data. And in fact, there's a button at the Materials project page where you can download the raw data directly from NOMAD. So there's collaboration all over the place.
Very good.
I think we had a hand up, but then the hand up was removed.
if there are no hands, then there is here also a very interesting question that is from Helena Petrelli, and her question is, quality is also the level of theory.
Yes.
And that is a very open question, but nevertheless, it warrants an answer.
Yeah, hello, Elena. Of course, and I think this is another reason why it's so important to collect data from different sources, because only having many data from different levels in theory, different codes, different approximations, we can evaluate what the impact of these evaluations is, right? So, and one way of having a first glance already on the impact is to look at the Materials the Nomad Encyclopedia, for instance. There you really can see what kind of calculations are available for a given material, what the methods are that have been used, and then we're looking at band structures coming from different exchange correlation functionals or densities of states. And so then you see already on a first quick glance what the impact of the level might be.
Very good.
Okay, so we have actually
all the questions here, Matthias.
Actually, the hand is up again. So there's a hand up from Mark, and so we allow him to talk. And I don't have the last name of Mark, but maybe if I listen to him, I know who it is. So Mark, please.
Okay, Matthias, I'll let you guess.
Okay, obvious.
It's Mark Reiner. I just revisit the point on determining the quality of experimental data, which is maybe a little bit more challenging than for determining the quality of theoretical data. But I think one very good criterion is the completeness of metadata. So if someone just sends a data set that has no metadata with it, the reliability is very questionable. I mean, you have nothing to go on. But if you have a certain, let's say, criterion of fields, say all these fields need to be filled out, and then it's called a meta-complete or something like that. Yeah, and then you can, I mean, the quality could still be bad, but the experts would be able to figure it out, usually. I mean, if you had like, unless it was malicious and you had someone who's a malicious expert, then they could probably falsify this. But I think those are such fringe cases that the vast majority of the data, you could assess its quality if you have complete metadata.
Yeah, so a very good point, of course. So the input files in terms in theory is something like metadata, right? So that's why I made these many exclamation marks when I talked about metadata in the theory part. But of course, I trust you that you will help us to make the experimental data fair, right?
Indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually, Mark will give a talk actually on related things later during this conference as well.